Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman, your humble host, and we've got a fine show lined up for you today as I'm over-caffeinated and ready to rock for an hour. Let's do it. I love these springtime temperatures. I have a nice, comfy golf shirt on today instead of something long sleeves. The Royals apparently are never losing another game. Life seems to be pretty good right now. Trump is kicking you-know-what and taking names. It's going to be a fine show. We'll talk a little bit later about a new term in the media that even Fox News is using, and it's got me a little concerned. I don't like it when they follow the lead of the left. We've got Pete Buttigieg in the news today. He's in hot water over comments he made about adoption and how black babies are discounted in adoption and cost less. What? Oh, yeah, you're going to want to hear that story. Democrats are turning on John Fetterman. A lot of good stuff going on. And we will get into a phenomenon of something that happened last night in Kansas and Missouri that I've lived here my entire life and had no idea it happened once a year, but it did while we slept. It's all ahead on Uncanceled. We start today with a kind of a throwaway story from the past couple of days that nobody would think is a very big deal until the mouse takes the bait. That's when it always gets interesting. A mousetrap sitting in the corner is not that interesting. Sometimes the peanut butter or the cheese just sits there and gets rotten. You have to pick it up, throw it away. It never catches anything. Donald Trump is batting like 980 every time he sets a mousetrap. And he set one in California over the last couple of days with his 100% tariff on Hollywood making movies overseas. And it sounded like a great idea because, as Trump says, it's all about jobs. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan took the bait, and she showed up at Trump's rallies in Michigan because she has no option. She's the governor of Michigan. Trump is creating jobs all over the place in manufacturing and automobiles in Michigan, and everyone in Michigan knows it, and he's growing in popularity there. And if she has a future career in Michigan running for senator or whatever, she better stand there while Trump comes to town and says, we're going to reinvent the auto industry. Now, remember, she didn't do anything about the auto industry or the jobs that were lost. But she knows she politically can't afford to not be with Trump. Well, there's two ways of doing it. We're starting to see a few people peel off and say, I need to be with Trump on this because he's right. And I know I'm supposed to hate Trump, but he's right. And this is good for my state. Oh, but Gavin Newsom. Oh, Gavin Newsom in California. Here come the Hollywood movies. And 100% tariff. And what's he going to do? He should be saying, okay, that's a great idea. We're going to do a tariff in California for these companies that are in Hollywood, that if they're going to go to Atlanta or Las Vegas and film their movies, then we're going to tariff them somehow for leaving the state. But he doesn't. What does Gavin Newsom do? Well, in California, they have a $330 million a year tax break for Hollywood. A tax break for them. Our taxes are so high, and we value Hollywood being here so much. We know the taxes are too high. We're going to give you a tax credit of $330 million. That's $330 million that the state of California doesn't collect. Last October, Gavin Newsom put forth a bill through the California House that has not been signed into law yet, but they're trying to, that will more than double that in California to a $750 million tax credit for the movie industry. Again, $750 million that California will not collect in taxes to try to bribe Hollywood to stay in California. Because why? Because the Democrats have been running the state for 30 or 40 years. The taxes are way too high, and businesses are leaving. Like Elon Musk's businesses have moved to Texas. So we know how this works. So Trump comes out with something simple. So stay in California. We're not going to judge, where you are or what you're doing. We don't care. But if you go to another country, we're going to slap 100% tariff on you. If you go spend $10 million filming in Japan for a movie, there's a $10 million tariff on that. We're just going to charge you. And it's come to the federal government. So Gavin Newsom reacts. He takes the cheese. He takes the bait. It's unbelievable. What does he want Trump to do? He doesn't sign up and say, hey, that's a great way to keep Hollywood from leaving. He wants Trump. This is unbelievable. He wants Trump to give a federal tax credit to Hollywood, movie companies in California, of $7.5 billion a year. Now, let's see if we can do the math on this. Movies go overseas, and Trump's going to charge a tariff, which brings revenue in. or he can waive $7.5 billion in revenue for Gavin Newsom. This is the worst negotiation I've ever seen. He's got a money-making idea versus one that Newsom wants him to eat $7.5 billion. How do you think that's going to go over at the White House? Because it's really just breaking. Newsom's just now responding to this thing and saying he thinks the tax credit's the way to go at the federal government. Trump's response will be and should be, it's not about the money, stupid. It's about the jobs. We don't want to lose these jobs overseas. We don't want you to take a crew of 13 people and go to another country where you hire 200 locals and actors and production people and non-union members to work filming your movie over in another country. We want those jobs here in America. The Democrats just don't understand the fundamental principles of any of this. We've been so laser focused on DOGE and everything it's doing, cutting waste, finding overspending, reducing the amount that our government will spend. All those things are great. That's great. And increased revenue through tariffs sounds fantastic. If we can get to a point where we just have small tariffs on countries where we had zero, I believe that should lead to our income taxes being lower. I don't know that they're going to go away entirely ever like they used to be 100 years ago, but maybe if the tariffs are high enough, we should be in that position as American consumers. The money that we spend on overseas products, we should be rewarded for that by having lower income taxes. Maybe no income tax, which is one of the dumbest things ever, penalizing people for working. Terrible idea. Almost as bad as Gavin Newsom's idea. Well, Mr. Trump, instead of your 100% tariff that's going to make you money, how about you give us money? $7.5 billion to Hollywood. As what? Some sort of an incentive to film in America? They're going to get these tax credits? Well, no. The entire point of all this is it may cost more to make your movie. We don't care. Cut your budget. You think movie budgets aren't the fattest slice of American business? These bloated things lose money right and left, and movie studios have never been good at watching budgets of their movies. They overpay the actors, the directors. Hey, slice them in for bigger cuts of the profits if there are any, and pay them less. Whatever you got to do. If you got to cut the budget, but film them here. Unless it's specifically a movie about another country. Obviously, you got some story about something that happened on a beach in Rio. You got to go to Rio and shoot your scenes. I get that. I'm going to guess there's going to be exceptions. If 80% of your movie production costs are in America, you'll probably not have the tariff. And Newsom simply doesn't get it. These people fall in the trap every time. I'm literally trying to figure this out, folks, how anybody could be that dumb. Trump has a thing where he's going to make money, and instead of making money, Gavin wants him to give money. They're not good at this. They're not good at this whether they sit it out or whether they propose an idea, because they never like Trump's idea. You know, Gretchen Whitmer hasn't said much about what Trump's doing. She's like, this is good for jobs in Michigan, so I'm good with it. She hasn't said, okay, I specifically like this, because it would make it look like she should have done that as governor. She should have done some of the things Trump is doing in Michigan. Well, Gavin Newsom is known. He's watched what happened in his state, and he's allowed all these foreigners to come in and just suck off the teats of everything that they're doing in California. We know how this works. We're well aware of why California's in trouble. And that means you and me, I assume most people listening to this show right now are in Kansas or Missouri. That means you and I are paying taxes every year that's helping bail out California in a way that Missouri and Kansas don't get bailed out. And I don't think you should be bailed out of this Hollywood thing. And I believe Trump, and I think this is right when he says it's about the jobs. We're talking about tens of thousands of jobs in the entertainment business. This is a huge industry that is losing American jobs every single day. Most of it is just going across the border into Canada, where they can get non-union workers. Vancouver is a hotspot for filming movies. There are studios up there. It's just cheaper to be in Canada. This is a California problem. This is not an America problem. This is a California problem. And Gavin Newsom doesn't want to see it that way. He just doesn't like the tariff happening. He's stepping up for his Hollywood cronies, where he hangs out with Martin Scorsese and all these guys and has these fancy dinners at the French restaurant, whatever it was called. And they sit there and they wine and dine on the very best, living at the top of the food chain, taxing the people of California until they have to leave, and they're going to blame Trump. And Trump hasn't done anything here other than suggest that Hollywood look really hard into figuring out a way to make movies in America, because that's more jobs for more Americans, which does what? It brings in more tax revenue. It's better for the economy. It's good for the GDP. Across the board, it's good. But immediately Newsom sees a fault in this and wants a $7.5 billion tax credit. I can't even figure that out. I'm having a really hard time figuring out the math of why Newsom thinks Trump not only shouldn't have the tariff, he should give money to California. Now, we need more money. That's just the way they think, man. That's all they think about. We need more money. We need more money because money will solve everything. No. You know what solves everything? The things Trump's talking about. Jobs, marriage, having children. All these things are really good. Industry, manufacturing coming back. Apple spending $500 billion to make every single iPhone you ever have is going to be made in America. This was unthinkable 6 months ago. 6 months ago, it was unthinkable that these companies, these tech companies, were going to make everything in America. It is all going to be made here. We're never going to be in the spot again we were in when COVID hit, where we don't have computer chips and we have cars sitting out there in the desert that they can't sell because there's no chip in them and they won't run because the cars are computerized. We can't get any chips. That's over. It's all going to be made here. We need to be self-sustaining. It's crazy. You hear Elon Musk talk about really big things like the reason he wants to go to Mars, not just to land there and plant a flag, he says. He wants to go to Mars so we can have some sort of a colony. We can continue life. Human beings can exist if we can find a way to be self-sustaining on Mars. Then we'll have a way to exist if the sun burns this planet out or if a giant asteroid hits it and blows the whole thing to smithereens, then at least Mars is there as a backup plan. Well, that's what Trump's doing on all this stuff. Everything he's doing is a backup plan for America. We need to be self-sustaining. We need to find a way to not need other countries in a way that we haven't thought about in 30 or 40 years. And people like Gavin Newsom, they can't even see it. They have no idea what Donald Trump is talking about. It's just a completely foreign concept. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. This is Uncanceled. Love to take your phone calls anytime right now. Give me a shout. We're on KCMO Talk Radio. We're back right after this.
From Overland Park to Oak Grove, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is in hot water after some comments he made on a podcast with a comedian who was the host, and he was not kidding. This was no joke. He was talking, and I think Buttigieg and his husband have adopted a couple of children, and he implied that adopting white children involves a list and a deposit on a fetus, while implying black children are adopted at a discount price. Whoa. And so now in The Hill, the National Council for Adoption President Ryan Hanlon has responded with an op-ed that just blows Buttigieg out of the water and totally shoots down his theory. Here's what Pete Buttigieg said about adopting. Anybody who says race is not a thing in this country should experience an adoption process where there are literally different lists if you say that you want a white kid versus if that doesn't matter. Literally a different list. The list for white kid only is longer. And not only that, there was actually a discount, or you didn't have to pay a deposit on the fees. This is like how it works. I simply couldn't believe it. Well, the response has been pretty amazing because this man clearly knows this is what he does for a living. And Hanlon responds by saying, as someone who's worked with hundreds of adoption agencies and professionals across the country for decades, I can confidently say that Buttigieg's comments misrepresent how private adoption works. More importantly, when media narratives confuse or conflate the key facts, the real harm falls on families and children. Hanlon explains that private domestic adoption is a voluntary process where birth parents, not agencies, select adoptive families. In today's system, most expectant mothers are not only involved in choosing the adoptive parents, but they stay in contact with them and their child through open adoptions. The data, Hanlon said, shows that fewer than a third of mothers consider race as any factor in selecting parents. So this is all just not factual. It has to do with who you live near, it sounds like to me. If you're pregnant and you're looking for adoptive parents, it might be the person that's closest or nearby. I don't know. But Hanlon continued by saying, even more concerning are the recent assertions that adoption agencies have begun to lower the cost associated with black children. This is unfounded and a damaging claim. No credible agency anywhere bases its fees on the race of a child. To suggest otherwise is to malign the ethical professional who work tirelessly to ensure every child is placed in a loving home. I can't say I know, but I'm going with Hanlon on this, just by him backing it up with the facts and the fact that he does it for a living. Maybe Buttigieg came across some people that were nefarious or doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. Hard to say. I don't know. But again, it just goes to the mindset of somebody on the left, that through the process of adopting children that he loves, that he's raising, and I think they're both children of color, if I'm not mistaken, by going through this process, he had to find something bad about it. He just had to find something bad. That it's not good enough to live in a country where you can be a gay man, marry your husband, and adopt children, and everybody's okay with that, and the law's protecting you, and that's not good enough. You got to find a problem with the process. And it sounds like maybe even make stuff up about the process. Disgusting, but not surprising. Here's Stephen on Uncanceled. Good morning, Stephen. How are you today?
Hey, Kevin, I've really enjoyed your topics. You might have missed a career as a political operative. I enjoy your takes. It really is the most entertaining undercover story that's going on right now. Is watching the Democrats kneecap their own presidential candidates that could win voters in swing states. Their bench is just not very deep. You kind of referenced this thing with Fetterman. I'm sure you talk about it later. But the not so obvious secret is they don't have anybody that can win all of these swing states. They lost all the swing states. I think eventually Shapiro or Beshears will come to the fore. Maybe Wes Moore, they'll cover him up as another Obama. But the people they've got cannot. Cory Booker cannot win a swing state. I mean, it's just a
I won't
fact.
argue that. I won't argue that the people that we're seeing today are real trouble, AOC and Bernie and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're going to find somebody, and it's going to be somebody toward the middle. It's going to be hard in the primary because the wackos generally control the primary over on the left, but they'll find somebody. You know, I always give the example of what about Manchin in West Virginia? He called himself a Democrat, but he's almost a Republican. What if he ran? He could beat a Republican.
Yeah.
You know, there are people out there like that. They're just not getting any of the oxygen at this point. The most of the base camp of the left have just dug into a trench and said we're anti-Trump on everything. And all he does every day is put things out there that are so pro-American. Like our culture loves Alcatraz. We love. Pete said he dove down. He's been just doing a deep dive on Alcatraz. We love that place.
Yeah.
We're all fascinated by it. So Trump throws it out there, and immediately the left has to say, oh, you can't put illegal aliens in there. Well, he never said anything about that. He just said, I want to open it back up. It's just sitting there. Let's have it.
Remember the movie The Rock? I mean,
Yes.
everybody loved that. We need to give more oxygen to AOC, not less.
Well, I agree with you there. I got to stop you right there. We're up against a break. That's a good call. We do, but this is way too far to even discuss 2028. They will find somebody that moves to the middle, and it will be close, and there is nothing guaranteed in any of these things. Nothing. My fear is that somebody does move toward the middle on the left. All right, Uncanceled continues on KCMO right after this.
From Gardner to Grain Valley, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, one of my pet peeves is when I hear the term Democratic in relation to a party, the Democratic Party. It's the Democrat Party. We're all Democratic. They're not unique that way, but they use that word to sort of, without people knowing it, influence them into thinking that that is the better party because they're all Democratic. And, the other side's not Democratic. No, it's a Democrat Party. But now there's a new term that I saw in a story at foxnews.com about a Honduran national in D.C. that's an illegal alien criminal that the D.C. authorities released after charges of abduction, intent to defile, burglary, breaking in with the intent to murder or rape in Fairfax, Virginia. And they let him go. So ICE picked him up. And so it's going to be okay. ICE has him now. We're going to be fine. This creep's off the street, so it's good. Why release him into the system? I don't understand why the local authorities release him into the system when they know they're now in the system and ICE will get them. Just turn them over to ICE. Just do your job. Stop being a Democrat. Just do your job. The feds are going to find them. Fox News lead says a Honduran man that was, quote, illegally present, unquote, in the United States has been picked up by ICE. Now, Fox News came up with that description of an illegal alien. Double shame on them, but I'm guessing they've picked this up from the left. I'm guessing the left is now using the term illegally present. That's just ridiculous. Illegally present. Here is John in Independence on Uncanceled. Hello, John. What's going on?
Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Your last segment, you were talking about the Democrats. Well, actually, they should be called the Dramacrats. I don't think they're going to find anybody that would appeal to the mass voting base in this next election because they have moved so far to the left. That's all they have left in their party are all these crazy lunatics. Trump, he dipped into their base back in November. That's how come he won with so many, with such a big victory. He took a lot of their voters away,
right?
Because they finally said phooey.
I want to believe you, but it's far away, and I'm not going to sit here 110 days into Trump's presidency thinking that the Republicans can't lose in 4 years because I watched Joe Biden win, and then I watched Kamala Harris, maybe the worst candidate in the history of American politics, get what, 76 million votes? They're out there, dude. You don't know them, and I don't know them, but they are out there. They're nuts just like those people, and there's tens and tens of millions of them.
I think what's going to be the final tipping point, and it's a big if, and it's a lot of maneuvering on Trump's part. If he can get all these tariffs and all these trade deals,
of course,
where the United States benefits greatly, come this next election, and then the election in 28.
Agreed.
That's going to be the Republicans are going to clean up.
Now we're on the same page. If Trump does a great job, then it should be just landslides all over the place. That's what happened with Reagan. We had a 12-year run where the entire country was like, we're all in. This is working. This is good. We're with you. Okay, but at some point, somebody comes along, and they're going to be a liar on the left. It'll be somebody that acts like they're more in the middle than they are, like Obama. He's going to say, I'm in the middle, I'm Biden, I'm in the middle, and then they're not. Like, has anybody ever been farther left than Joe Biden ever as a president of this country? He wasn't in charge, but whatever. That's not where he ran. He ran in the middle to bring people together and didn't say anything about any policies. And he darn sure didn't say he was going to let 20 million illegals walk across the border. Okay? So they lie. There's no stopping them from lying. It's not a crime to lie.
Biden, he was an abject liar.
Of course.
But we know that.
You don't think there'll be other Democrats that do that?
Well, the people that voted back in 2020, they were so sick of Trump because of how the media attacked him and made him look to be some sort of a collusion, Russian agent.
Maybe. They also might have thought that he wasn't the right guy for COVID.
Well, but you notice 2 weeks after the election back in 2020, they had the cure, So
well, they had it all. I don't give up on Democrats, man. They're too shifty. They do not tell the truth. They will constantly at the national level tell you they're somewhere near the middle, and then when they get in there, even Obama was farther left than he said. Clinton was probably actually the closest to what he said he was going to be. but he was even a little left of that. At least Trump's out there going, here's what I'm going to do. And it's all going to be populist and to the right. And America loved it. And they said, we'll vote for you. And we want it. And everything he's doing every single day has an undertone of this is good for America. And that's what's winning right now because it's forcing everybody on the other side to be opposite of Trump, which is anti-American. The bottom line is the more young people that we can show over these 4 years, and this is about young voters, the more young people we can show that the other party is really anti-America and don't like America, that's what will win. Because young people don't want that. They want a great country. They want to be great. They want the economy to be better. They want to buy houses. They want interest rates lower. Let's just see what happens. The best chip the Republicans will have to play is Trump winning. I think it's going to work. I like the game plan. We got 2.5 years, theoretically, until anybody's talking about a presidential election. So let's go Trump. That's really what you want every day, is not to worry about the crazoids on the left. I don't know what they're doing. Honestly, I think some of them are auditioning for cable news jobs, and book contracts, because the things that they say, Bernie Sanders can't be president. There's no way, right? But Shapiro in Pennsylvania could. He sounds real good when he talks. Oh, I'm in a swing state. I've got people in both party backing me. Then I'll have all these Republicans line up in Pennsylvania. We've got 17 Republicans in the House that are for me for president. Well, of course, because it somehow will be good for them if you win. Yes, there's people out there that will look okay. Trust me, they will. Not the people you're seeing right now. That's the difference. Speaking of politicians in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman has had his own people turn on him, mostly in the media, but watch other politicians now follow through. A couple of Democrat politicians were upset that he's kind of cozied up to Trump on some policies that have been good for Pennsylvania, but at least he's honest. He's like, this is good for the people of Pennsylvania, so I'm for it. I don't know why more Democrats don't do that, but they don't. Well, the left is really mad at him now in the media. And again, I don't know these media people, but apparently they're both very influential. Tara Swisher is a huge podcaster on the left and has been a giant supporter of Fetterman's. And so is a guy named Mehdi Hassan, who founded Mateo Media and worked for MSNBC before he quit after he got demoted. But they both have big platforms and all these followers, and they were giant supporters of Fetterman. We got to stand with him. You can recover from a stroke. He's going to be fine. Of course, we know what all the memes of social media have been. It took a stroke for Fetterman to get some common sense in his head and figure out right from wrong. But these people in the media are about to abandon him, and it's more than just Trump, because they didn't do it over the Trump. It's about Israel. Oh, they are not happy with Fetterman on Israel. What is it with the Democrats? They've been running around calling Republicans anti-Semites forever. I didn't know. First of all, I didn't really even know that there was a bunch of Jewish racism out there. I didn't. I know about World War II. I knew all that, but I just thought it was over. I've never seen it, heard it. I don't understand it. I've got a lot of people who have thought I'm Jewish. My name sounds Jewish. I've never had anybody express. I don't get it. But now they're coming out everywhere. Like they're supporting terrorists against the people of Israel. That sounds like anti-Semitism to me. So I didn't know where it was because I wasn't hanging around with the far left. But now we're finding this out because they're mad at Fetterman because he's largely been supporting Israel and he's taken a stance on that. I'm just stunned by some of the things that we see that happen over and over. And I think J.D. Vance got it right. He did the interview with Fox News a couple of days ago. And they said, hey, Trump made a comment about 2028 that you and Rubio, there's great candidates. He said, yeah, we're not talking about that right now. We got work to do. They said, well, who's the leader of the Democrat Party? And J.D. Vance said, Donald Trump. That's exactly right. Everything Trump does, the Democrats right now go the opposite direction, which is kind of a whole lot of fun. I mean, it's fun to watch these things go down this way. And it's really, Trump keeps nothing. Like, I feel sorry for this Canadian prime minister today. He's about ready to walk into the White House and meet with Trump. And I know he's like an accomplished Wall Street guy. He came to America, made a bunch of money. He's probably cocksure of himself from all the great business dealings he's had. But let me tell you something. Okay, I'll give you a little experience. I've been in this business a million years, right? I come in here the first week of December to do this new gig and don't really know anybody, don't know anything about the company. You're nervous when you come in. You're a little unsure. You're like, okay, don't rock the boat. Make sure everything's okay. Like my first few shows didn't have a whole lot of swagger to them like I would on my podcast. Let's just see how this, dip our toe in the water and see how it goes. Can you imagine this dude? Like he's walking into the White House today with nothing. He has no cards in his hand. He's got nothing. Nobody in America knows his name, right? Nobody knows his name. He's walking in to meet with Trump because he has to, because he campaigned on, I'm going to stand up to Donald Trump and we're not going to take it from America. He's got no game today. He's going to be a nervous wreck. I'll be surprised if he doesn't pee his pants walking in there. That's got to be the worst feeling. Can you imagine walking in to speak with Donald Trump on probably not much of substance, but probably just to get a browbeating from him? Because here's what he's going to hear. He's going to hear what Trudeau heard at that dinner. Was that in France? Where he said, your economy's too small, Justin. You have nothing. You have no cards. You guys have no money. You're broke. You make $200 billion off a year off us. We're going to pull that, and you're not going to make it. You're not going to survive without us. He's at dinner with the man, telling him that's like going to dinner with an acquaintance and saying, yeah, you're not going to make it. You're going to have to sell your house. You're going under. You're going to have to give the kids up for adoption. It's over. You're done. You can't make it in this neighborhood. You can't join this country club. He's going to get a full dose of that from Trump today. And the guy's a Wall Street dude. He understands the finances of it. He knows he's got a losing hand in Canada. He just wanted to be prime minister. So what do you do? How do you bridge that gap? What do you do in your first meeting with Trump? You're going in as Canadian prime minister. I guess you say superficial things like, we'd like to find common ground. We want to help, Mr. President. We understand that it's been an imbalance. We want to do better. And Trump's going to be like, no, we want it all. You're not getting $200 billion a year from us anymore. It's over. How are you going to sustain your country without this $200 billion a year? It's your problem, not mine. That's going to be a rough meeting, folks. And I'll bet it doesn't last very long. I'll bet he doesn't stick around for dinner and we see photos tonight. Anybody want that one? Do we think the Canadian Prime Minister is going to be dining with Trump this evening? We'll have a bunch of official photos. I don't know. Is he going to do the news conference thing? That would be interesting. Where they sit by, well, when it was cold, they were by the fireplace there, outside the Oval Office. I'd love to see one of those today. That'd be pretty darn interesting to see how that beatdown goes down. I really don't know, but I don't want to be that guy today. That sounds like a horrible, horrible day. I don't want to be him. All right, Uncanceled is brought to you each and every day by our friends at bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind. You can take items from a house and they'll clean out the rest. It's one of the great options you have with Best Offer KC. So this happened recently with a woman in Leavenworth. An out-of-state daughter, mom, lived in Leavenworth and she passed away. And she called bestofferkc.com and said, I'm coming to town. I want to pick out some things that I want. Can you take care of everything else? Because I got to get back home. And they said, absolutely. And they'll do that. They'll clean out the entire house for you, get it ready to sell. They make the offer. They do everything. You get a check. It's over. They close fast. They'll even, in some cases, lend you money for moving expenses if you're moving out of the house and somewhere else, so you can get there and get moved in or pay the rent in your new apartment or whatever it is that you're doing before it's closed and you get the rest of your money. They're different than everyone else. They're really in the people business, not the housing business. It's bestofferkc.com. Take my word for it. Mark and his team at Best Offer are different than the other guys. They just are. He's absolutely committed to this. 816-338-SOLD. If you or someone in your family or circle of friends needs to sell a house quickly for whatever reason, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's personal, maybe it's medical, 816-338-SOLD. That's 816-338-SOLD for bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
Call Kevin Kietzman, 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
Man, I thought my tickets for Kenny Chesney at the Sphere coming up Memorial Day weekend were expensive, but Mark Van Sickle is on it today. We mentioned here a couple of weeks ago that the premium package World Cup tickets would go on sale first, and that day is today. You're now looking at it. You can if you hit that button right now, what happens?
Yeah, I could actually buy these if I had the money. I'm not doing that.
Right. How much?
So you can get the cheapest one, which is the FIFA Pavilion, $9,375 per person, but you get to go to all 6 games at Arrowhead. So when you break it down, it's $1,562.50 per ticket per game.
And do you sit anywhere special?
You get to sit in the FIFA Pavilion, which is not quite like the extended box like everybody else is going to get in the Champions Club or the VIP or the pitch side lounge, which gets you on the front right by the players and everything.
Wow.
So that one, the pitch side lounge, $21,300 per person.
Face value.
Yep.
That's face value. Yeah, FIFA's our friend. Oh, yeah, they're great. I guess they're coming from around the world, so those things will sell. The regular seats will go on sale later this summer or early fall, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And some of those will be $150 maybe?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Here's hoping. Last night, while we slept, do you know what happened, Mark? This was unbelievable. I've lived here my whole life. I did not know this.
Are you talking about the birds?
Yeah, the birds. Remember, we mentioned Kansas City 7th in the country for most bird strikes into houses that die. I did not know this. Last night was the number 1 night for bird migration for the entire year. They estimate 55 million birds flew over Kansas and Missouri from south to north. Migrating.
That's insane.
55 million.
55 million.
So there's this tracker in Kansas that I found. 32.3 million were in Kansas last night. They track them by the day and show how many it is. So the number 1 day of the year is always, it's like clockwork. It's always between May 3rd and May 9th. Last night was the night. They see them coming, I guess. They know the flow from out of Texas, Oklahoma, and they're like, okay, so I think it was Nick Bender or somebody at Channel 5 yesterday posted on X, tonight's the night. We got 55 million birds coming. I'm like, what? While we sleep. They do it in the dark.
So that's why we don't see it, I guess.
You don't see it.
If it was during the day, we'd look up in the sky and it would be crazy.
They're between 1,000 and 3,000 feet. My wife asked really good questions, and she said, what about airplanes? I said, I don't know. Are they on radar? Would those giant flocks of birds, if there's 50,000 Canada geese in one flock near KCI at 1,500 feet, would we know? Right.
It's crazy.
I normally will try to BS an answer with her and let her make her think that I'm really smart. I have no chance on that one. I'm like, I don't know, sweetie. I don't have that answer for you on that one. Did you hear about this lottery winner in Kentucky? Did I talk about this yesterday? I don't think I did. Man won $167 million in the Kentucky lottery Powerball. His name is James Farther. He decides he's going to take a little vacation a couple days later and goes to the Tradewinds Resort in St. Pete Beach in Florida, where he and his girlfriend, Jackie, get drunk and get into fights with people. The police come, and in the scuffle with the police, he kicks one of the police officers in the head, and he's charged with assaulting a police officer, cuffed, taken away. And now we've learned after the fact, he had a long history of these things. He was on probation and out on parole from Kentucky. Now he's going back to jail. Dude won $167 million, and he's going to jail with all that money. I don't think it's going to go well for him in jail. This is the best part. His girlfriend, Jackie, she got into a fight too and punched some other lady, and she got arrested. And her name is Jackie Fightmaster.
That's perfect.
It is perfect. It also sounds so fake, but it's true. I can't imagine getting into a fight with anyone a few days after winning $167 million. I think I'd probably just be the happiest guy around. Everywhere that I went, I'd be the happiest guy anywhere.
Just lay low.
Yeah. And Tavia Hunt, the heiress to the Chiefs, has posted on Insta the cheerleader tryouts. And she's commented that the cheerleading coach for the Chiefs is great. The contestants, they were awesome. They're going to select who they are. And apparently for the second year in a row, we had a man tryout. This has nothing to do with transgender, nothing. It's just a man who can really dance. We agree?
Oh, yeah.
Can really dance.
You see these guys on, Beyonce stage or
Yes.
Taylor Swift, whatever.
He's right out there with them. He's moving. He looked great. This ain't the hill I'm dying on. I don't think I care if they have a male cheerleader. I don't think that bothers me. I think that may have 20 years ago. I don't think it bothers me at all now. Now, if this was somebody who dressed up like a girl and came in with a skirt on and tried to do it that way, it would bother me.
That would
This
be
doesn't
different, yeah.
bother me at all, man.
Just looks like a dude that likes to dance.
He didn't make it last year, right? You listened to the interview. What did he say?
He, put in the work over the past 365 days and wanted to get better.
Are we rooting for him?
I'm kind of rooting for him now.
Right. There will be some Chiefs fans that'll be really biased against this thing. It'll make us look silly if we have a male cheerleader. I'm rooting for the guy. If that's the best, if that's his best life and what he wants to do, go get it, man. The Vince Show is coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.